Welcome. Thank you for tuning in to It's Covered, the insurance podcast. Because if you think insurance is boring, then you are not doing it correctly. And this episode is actually going to prove that. We were just discussing this. We were going to sit down to record this, but I don't think either one of us really knew what our conclusions are going to be. And I'm not sure that either one of us knows right now. And I'm sorry. I'm Paul. This is Mel. Mel, how are you?
Hey, it's me. I'm here. I'm doing good.
So, I mean, we like to challenge each other, challenge ourselves. We get these weird, accident videos online, and we like to look at them and try to figure things out from an adjuster point of view, because some of them are really weird and cool. So this one is not a new one. This is actually from September of last year and it happened in Florida. And I'll put the link in the show notes. If you have not seen this video, you need to watch it. It's insane. I mean, the whole thing is so weird.
Yeah, it's really weird watching it because being in the industry, definitely conflicting feelings.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to summarize it. There's an edited version. And then there's the full 9-minute version. But what happens is this. Before the taping started, the three women in a car who are taping it, pull out, and they're almost hit by a seemingly drunk driver. And so they start videoing and they call the police. And they're following this person. And Mel, I mean, they're swerving, right?
Yeah, there's lots of swerving. And their initial thought, I think they should have stayed with whenever they first saw it.
Yeah. Well, this person is swerving from ditch to ditch. This is a 4-lane highway with a median. So 2 lanes going in the direction we're going, and there's a shoulder on both sides. And this person is swerving from the grass on one side to the grass on the other side. This is not, hey, I'm kind of wobbling on the line, right?
Yeah, they're all over the place, and anybody seeing it can tell that they're not really having any regard for surroundings.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so it seems like in the video, everybody's kind of hanging back, but every once in a while a car will try to pass. There seems to be like this traffic jam that's starting behind this car, and only in the most wide areas are people trying to pass and get around them. And they start wondering, is this person drunk, or are they asleep or dead? And when you're watching that video, that is a real question, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a real question looking at the video, because you just don't know. You see somebody like that, things start going through your head. You don't know what that person is doing. Yeah.
And I've handled a couple of claims where people had a stroke or a heart attack on the road, and they cause an accident because of that stroke or heart attack. And so this stuff happens. And so, that's kind of the thought here. And so then the thought is, and the full video is 9 minutes. The police have not shown up at this point, right? They've been going on for a long time, and they're really starting to wonder, hey, are the police going to stop this before something really crazy happens? And I think the fear here is if this person takes a hard left and goes across the median, this could be a fatality very, very quickly. And so the women in the car decide that they're going to put a stop to it. And so they pass the car, get in front of the car, and hit their brakes, and they cause an accident. They pop them, but it's a much more minor accident than what could have resulted in that situation.
Yeah, it's from the standpoint of the people in the sober car or the regular car or bystander or whichever. From their standpoint, they did something heroic.
Heroic.
He
Row.
he row
row.
Ick.
Heroic.
Thank you. From their standpoint, they did something heroic.
I'm totally leaving that in there.
Thank you. And, that's akin to, they think, hey, I stopped a bank robber, delivered a baby and stopped, somebody from using the car to kill other people.
Right. Yeah. So the drunk driver, who was indeed drunk, was arrested. And so that kind of solves that mystery. She was toasted. And that leaves us to where we are now. How in the world do we cover this thing? And this is a really complicated one.
Yeah.
And in all of our collective experience, and we brought in other adjusters too to look at this one with us, to try to figure this one out. In our collective experience, we kind of have a general feeling as to how it might go, but there are a lot of paths this claim can take. And so I thought this would be a good way of just chatting about how something like this could happen. The first thing I want to say is we don't necessarily endorse people doing this, right?
Right. There's no way where this is looked upon by the insurance company as something you should do. I mean, when you sit down either online or with your insurance agent, you're putting down, hey, I wash my car every Saturday. I avoid potholes. I don't run red lights. I don't go over 80. I avoid other people. I've never been in an accident. And so you're not going to get the hoorah, you did a good thing when the insurance company finds out that this vehicle that you promised that you would take care of and they will insure for this price. Yeah. That you used it to get them to pay out money. Intentionally, yes.
Smacked into someone. So yeah, I think we say that as insurance professionals.
Correct.
On a personal note, I've seen those situations go very, very bad, very, very quickly. And there is a very decent chance, especially after 9 minutes with the cops not showing up. I'm not sure what I would do in that situation myself. And I'm not sure they did the right thing, but it's clear from the video that they were trying to help. And they may have actually saved a life that day. And so, I'm not gonna sit here and say that they shouldn't have done it or they should have done it one way or another, because I don't know, and I don't think anybody really does. But that's one of those situations where I don't think we know what we would do, unless we were sitting right there. And 9 minutes can be a very long time on the road. Just waiting for this to go bad. 9 minutes is a long time to wait. And without the help of the police who had not arrived yet, I'm not sure what I would have done.
Yeah, it's something that I think that whenever you're going to put yourself in a situation that could be bad and you're weighing all of the options, then if you're going to do it, hey, take one for everyone else. That's great. But I think the problem comes in when you want all the glory, but you want somebody else to pay for
it. Yeah. So now the claim comes in. And there's so many things that can happen here. The first thing that can happen is, okay, we got to distinguish between, the drunk driver and the three women in the car. So if I'm the adjuster for the three women in the car, the first thing we got to figure out is, are we covering this claim at all? because that was an intentional act, and intentional acts are not covered by your policy. And so that's the first question that comes up. And this already, we're getting to the point where we don't really have an answer to that, because this isn't kind of the intentional act that we're used to seeing. Like, you know, the wife running over her husband when he's, you know, out with his girlfriend. That's the kind of intentional act we normally associate with. Or, you know, I'm out joyriding and I want to feel what it's like to be in an accident, so I wrap my car around the tree, you know, or you know, very, very common, I set my car on fire because I'm upside down on the payments and I want out of this loan. That happens quite a bit. And this is not the exact same type of intentional act, is it? This is like, hey, I'm trying to save people's lives here. Let me use my car to do it. Right? I mean, that's intentional, but it's not quite the same thing.
Yeah. And it is something that gives people pause, because that type of act in one circle is promoted above all other acts. That's a selfless act.
Yeah.
That's something that you did that needed to be done. And I'm sure that, the, police officers or the city or somebody may put that person on the news, give them a plaque, and they should. That's something that was very good. But again, it comes to play at what cost was that done?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I guess the first thing we do in that case is we get with the supervisor and get it to legal. Because the question I have, and I don't know the answer to this, because first of all, I'm not a lawyer. Secondly, I'm not even in the state that this happened in. And so, you know, it's one of those things is like, you know, even if this were in Texas, I wouldn't have the answer, but much less in Florida. And so I would want legal to take a look at this one and give an opinion. And I think what they might come back with is that, you know, doing something illegal, like causing an accident, while trying to stop something very, very dangerous and possibly life-threatening, is defensible. That's what I imagine they're going to come back with. And if that's the case, then I would want to, as the adjuster for the three women, I would want to put liability against the other person.
Yeah, I think that's, if you're in the car that you're doing the stopping of the other person, I think, yeah, you're gonna say this person could have killed somebody, and all of the payment and things that came from this accident should be on them as a punishment for being drunk and driving. Right.
Yeah. But here's the problem. Now we go to the other side. And first of all, Mel, is this a denial because the woman is drunk? Just for that reason? Is it a denial because of that?
No.
And a lot of people will think that, you know, the person is drunk driver, therefore insurance doesn't apply. That's not true. We pay claims for people who are intoxicated all the time. And so if you're the adjuster for the other side, for the drunk driver side, you know, we're not denying the claim. So do you accept liability?
Well, based on the, you know, what we've seen from the video, then there's no way, if the insured is, you know, ours, the drunk driver, there's no way that I'm accepting liability in this. Having another car cause an accident, intentionally, that's fine that they stopped my insured. But we're not paying for this. Your insurance is.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, we mentioned this in a previous episode. I think it was last week's episode. Just because somebody else is doing something illegal does not mean that you're necessarily not at fault. Just because the other person is driving drunk or texting or distracted somehow does not mean that you're not at fault. And you can't, in general, I mean, we're talking, just general statements here. You can't cause an accident, just because someone else is doing something illegal.
And that's something that really, when I first started getting into insurance and having the discussion with my wife, who is also in insurance, that's one of the things that really got me kind of weirded out a little bit, because if somebody's driving erratic and they're going to hit you head on, and if you swerve out of the way and go in a ditch, and then you go and say that other guy is at fault because he was going to hit me, I had to swerve to move out of the way, and then I went in the ditch and hit this pole, that is your fault. Right. If the other guy did not hit you and you went into a ditch and hit a pole because of the other guy, that is your fault. You cannot cause an accident or cause damage to your car and expect to be not at fault.
Right. Yeah. You can't cause, succinctly, you can't cause an accident to avoid an accident.
Right.
And so that's kind of what happened here. Now, this is an extreme case. And so, I might be taking this to my manager, and the manager says, we don't want backlash on this one. Let's just pay it. Our driver was clearly just, 3 sheets to the wind, out of her mind, drunk. So that might happen, but the first instinct is, I think I'm fighting for 100%, not at fault on this. And so that puts both adjusters with a really solid case at odds. And so ultimately, one of two things can happen. The first is the adjusters sit down and agree on comparative negligence. That is, it's not 100%, 0% situation. Maybe it's 60-40, maybe it's 50-50. I happen to know that Florida is a pure comparative negligence state, which means that, if I'm 10% at fault for the accident, my insurance is going to pay 10% of that other person's car. And so, if this is a 50-50 case, each insurance company will be paying 50% of the other side, or whatever the case may be. Or if both sides stick to their guns, it goes to arbitration. And I'm not at all confident in how that would be resolved in arbitration.
Yeah, there's a lot of feelings going on in this one, and it's kind of like when you go to jury duty, or you're on a panel, or you're one of the jurors, and they lay out what you're supposed to be judging on. Something in particular. Do not look at the overall. Mm-hmm. No, is this person guilty of this little thing over here? That's what the whole trial is on, or what they're trying to prove. And it's kind of like that in arbitration, or when you're going to your adjuster. They're not looking at what could have happened. They're looking at the damage to the front end of the drunk person's car and the damage to the rear end of the other people's car. What caused that damage to happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one's a fun one. I'm, normally at the end of the episode, we ask you to share this episode with somebody. I want you to do something different this time. I mean, by all means, share it, please do, but we're going to put a link first to this video, but secondly, we're going to put a link to our Facebook group in the description. Please do join our Facebook group. We're just starting it out. We're trying to build up a fun community that can kind of chat about things that are insurance and claims related. And I'd like to hear some opinions about this one. Who in the world do we go after for this? This should be a pretty interesting and lively discussion.
Yeah, this is one that you have to think long and hard about making your opinions known. Mm-hmm. Because if you're on the wrong side, then everyone hates you and you're the Grinch and you deserve to not be here. But if you're on the side of everyone, then hey, hooray for you. You're the smartest person on the planet. Let's go see Infinity War.
How is that a good advertisement for our Facebook group?
Oh, well, sorry.
Oh goodness. Well, we do appreciate, please do jump in our Facebook group. Take a look at our website. It's covered.net, and we have some cool resources there, that you're going to find interesting. But otherwise, we appreciate you joining us today, and we will see you next week.
See ya.